today we've already done a video discussing 5 main characters that I think can't beat Deku, that Deku would absolutely be able to defeat those main characters. There's some pretty interesting people on that list, so I implore you, if you haven't seen that video, to go check that out. But now in this video, we're going to talk about 5 characters that I believe can defeat Prime All Might. The strongest All Might that there is, as theoretical as he is, we're gonna find 5 characters that I think would destroy him. And we're not gonna go easy like Goku, obviously. We're gonna find 5 interesting ones. So sit right there and let's talk about who I think can defeat Prime All Might. So here we go. The first character that I'm going to start off with is going to be, interestingly enough, Avatar Aang. Now, if you don't know about Aang from Avatar The Last Airbender, you should definitely get on that series. It's probably one of my favorite watches ever, especially when I was growing up. Just great television. But Aang comes from a universe where people are able to pretty much bend and control different elements. So some people will be able to control rocks, some people will be able to control fire, water, air. But one person, the Avatar, is able to control all of the different elements after they get some training to do so. Now, normally I know you would look at Aang and be like, this guy can beat Prime All Might? Absolutely not. But the reason that I'm going to give this to Aang is because of the combination of 3 things that I do think would put him on the level of Prime All Might and give him the edge over the character. First off is the fact that Aang can use all the different elements, and he can pretty much make All Might have to fight not only him, but the entire world around him. Because Aang, after a certain point, has control over earth, fire, air, and water, and he can shape the landscape and do various different things to really help him in a battle. Meaning that there's no sort of home field advantage against Aang. There's no sort of location where you're better off fighting him there, because if you're in a water area, if you're there with ice, if you're in a fiery lagoon, if you're in the center of the earth, Aang is gonna have something to bend to be able to use to his advantage and have his own sort of weapons. And we've seen him use his bending to give him various different boosts like speed and being able to dodge things. He's very evasive with his air bending. Fire is obviously very dangerous, and things like magma and all that stuff are also free for Aang to control. We also have rocks and diamonds and whatnot for some sort of armor, and also water, of course, which takes up 75% of the planet and is a very crushing, destructive force, including the water inside of the human body, your blood, which is sometimes liable for these benders to use. Now, yeah, Aang is very impressive with the way that he bends the different elements, but that in and of itself is not going to put him anywhere near All Might tier. But the second thing that he has at his disposal is a thing called the Avatar State. And the Avatar State is something that I think is very similar to One for All, in the fact that you have a lineage of hundreds of previous users of what you can call the Avatar quirk, let's say. Really what it is it's a title that only one person can be born with the ability to master all 4 of the elements, and then when that person dies, immediately somewhere else, the cycle continues in another kind of bender, and one of their benders is born as the Avatar. But eventually, these characters can tap into that legacy, that past of all those previous users, to use all of their information and all of their memories to be able to control the elements way better and make them far stronger. And we see in the series that anytime Aang goes into the Avatar State, he pretty much just decimates his opponents and decimates his enemies, because some of those previous avatars were so scary that they shook the world to its very foundation. They were the Prime All Might of their times, and Aang is literally filled with all of their experience and all of their abilities put together when he goes into the Avatar State. The third thing though, and this is the thing that I think is the most dangerous for All Might, even more dangerous than the Avatar State, is Aang's unprecedented ability to use energy manipulation or energy bending. And this actually lets Aang completely take away someone's bending abilities, but because One for All is a form of energy that is being stored in the quirk and then given to All Might to use for his powers, I wonder if theoretically Aang could use energy bending to completely get rid of One for All, or even take it for himself. That X factor, I think, really gives Aang a chance in this matchup against All Might, and let me know if you believe so or not in the comments section below. Now, the second character that I believe could defeat Prime All Might, and this one is a little less questionable, this one, All Might's just getting worked by this guy, is a character that you might not even know is as broken as he truly is. Because in his anime, ReZero, we haven't actually seen him do all that much, considering how powerful this guy truly is. I'm talking about Reinhardt Van Austria from ReZero, and let me just tell you, this guy works All Might. He might even work Saitama. It's that ridiculous. Reinhardt Van Estrella, who has the title of Sword Saint in ReZero, which, I mean, Sword Saint, that should tell you a lot about what this guy is capable of. He is basically the Satoru Gojo of ReZero, but it's far more ridiculous. People think that Gojo is broken. This guy might even be able to just defeat Gojo. I think I would put this guy over anyone in anime history with the way that his power works. But I'm doing a lot of gassing, so what can this guy actually do? Well, for the first time ever, there's a character who I can't even explain all the things that he can do in this video because it would take 30 minutes trying to detail everything. So in the comment section below, on the pinned comment, I have the entire list of Reinhardt's blessings, so you can see everything this character is blessed with. And blessings in ReZero are pretty much gifts that you get from the gods or from different spirits. They're extremely rare, with the rare person just having one. Reinhardt has like 20 or something, and they're all just ridiculous. They range from things like any projectile he uses is guaranteed to hit the target, he can't be snuck, he absorbs 80% of all damage, he has super speed, anything that he rides gets the super speed as well, he can master riding anything, just ridiculous stuff like that. He literally has two abilities that say the first time an attack is performed at Reinhardt, it always misses, and then another blessing that says the second attack and all following attacks miss him. So how can you hit him? How is he touchable at any point? He also has the ability to read people's minds, he can master any item he holds, he just has a ridiculous amount of blessings. And if that didn't make things worse, if you actually manage to kill him somehow, let's say All Might barely manages to defeat him somehow and get him dead, he's also granted a continue upon death. So Reinhardt is just an amazingly ridiculous character, on top of the fact that we know his power level, at least the strength that he has, is almost planetary. He's able to keep up really easily with another character who in a fit of rage destroyed half of the planet, so that tells us a lot about what this character will be capable of, and I'm sure in his own fit of rage he'd be able to destroy the other half of the planet, which is something that I just don't see All Might as being capable of, as ridiculously powerful as he was. So for those reasons, I'm gonna give the victory here to Reinhardt Van Estrella, and I implore you, if you're interested in anything having to do with that character, check out ReZero's anime and then try diving into the light novels, which I do believe are translated online, so it's easy to kind of get into that series. The third character in this video that I think would beat Prime All Might is gonna be Escanor from Seven Deadly Sins. Now, Escanor has the title of the One, right? And that kind of tells you a lot about this character already, but Escanor is kind of the most All Might-like character on this list, right? He's a giant big buff guy in his universe who gets power from, like, you know, it's not literally fire because All Might has the burning will of One for All inside him. Well, Escanor gets power from the sun. He's very much like Superman in that aspect, and the other aspect of him being like Superman is just his ridiculous, overwhelming strength. Now, to put this in perspective, early on in this series for Seven Deadly Sins, we see Melodius pick up a twig and casually cut a mountain in half. Later on in the series, when he unlocks his true strength and is stronger than he's ever been before, just casually stronger than most people in My Hero Academia already, we see him have a fight with Escanor, where Escanor takes the power of the sun and takes his strongest possible form, where he's stated to be practically invincible. Here, he one-shots Meliodas, completely taking him down, and if his transformation into the One isn't enough with how crazy he looks here, he also has another transformation called the One Ultimate, which literally states that it makes him the most powerful person in existence. And this is in a series where you have characters that are magic users that could probably destroy the world, and also massive demon kings from other dimensions, so that puts Escanor on a power level that I don't think that Prime All Might could reach, even though the fight between them would be really interesting because they're both pretty much just the power of 100% humankind, right? Just as powerful as a person can be in a human body, that's what you get when you look at the two of those guys. So if they fight, I think it would be an amazing battle, but I do think that at the end of the day, Escanor is, at least in the way that he's depicted in that series, a little more invincible seeming, and the way that it came across to me kind of made me feel like Escanor would take this victory over Prime All Might. But I will say that if All Might is somehow able to survive the One Ultimate, then I do believe that that kills Escanor, so it might end up coming down to a match of endurance between Prime All Might and Escanor to see who can hold out the longest until Escanor ends up dying to his own ability. But that minute around high noon is going to be one of the most deadly periods of time ever for All Might, especially considering that All Might was defeated by All for One, right? You know, he's defeated by an All for One that wasn't as powerful as the current Shigaraki is in the manga, and we're seeing how that's going for Shigaraki against Deku, so that kind of gives us some sort of rubric to judge, and I do think that Escanor probably would have handily defeated All for One, just with the kind of stuff that Seven Deadly Sins characters are capable of. So that's why I believe that Escanor, the One or the One Ultimate, would defeat All Might also. This one is going to be really interesting because I've been enjoying watching this character cook in the series that they're in, and I'm gonna bring up Gear 5 Luffy from One Piece. Now, for a long time, I've been thinking that characters from One Piece, they're not really that high on the power level scale, right? I mean, yeah, they can be very, very fast, but just as far as like their destructive output, what they're actually capable of doing, a lot of characters don't really reach that level for me, right? You do have some very incredibly impressive things that happen, but they're not really as a result of strength sometimes, like log cutting mountains and stuff is really more because of his ability, right? And not as much because of his strength. But recently we've gotten some stuff in One Piece that has just taken it to a completely different level for me, and one of those things is definitely Gear 5 Luffy. Now, Gear 5 Luffy, the reason that I'm going to put him in this battle of All Might is actually because the way that All Might's power is described, especially Prime All Might, it's almost cartoonish, right? It's like those depictions of early Superman, and when he would just do practically anything, he could just do anything that didn't make any sense, like punch a tornado away or do just random stuff like that. Those are the kind of things that Prime All Might was apparently capable of doing. He was just completely destroying the laws of physics, to the point where I even think that there's a branch of science in the My Hero Academia world surrounding All Might's power and what he was capable of doing, because he did just break so many laws of reality with what he was capable of. But that kind of character with that kind of cartoonish power, I think, is perfect to put up against Gear 5 Luffy, because that's kind of Gear 5 Luffy's whole jam. We've seen that Gear 5 Luffy has the ability to pretty much turn the world into an episode of Looney Tunes and completely embarrass his opponents. Now, he's fought a lot of very serious people, and I don't think of All Might as the most serious person, especially when he had like these cartoonish abilities and he hadn't really gone through the All for One fight yet. So I do think it'd be a very interesting battle, but at the end of the day, I don't think there's a very easy way to take on Luffy or do any damage to him for All Might, and Luffy can literally punch All Might in the face and send his face reeling like it's made out of rubber, with his hand going pretty much through his head. And I think the combination of that over time and him turning the whole world to rubber, and now we've seen that Luffy can even create items from his hair, eventually he'd pretty much be able to wear All Might down and come out with the victory, especially because he can do a lot of damage to internal organs with the new way that he fights. This is pretty much the Mask versus Prime All Might, and I kind of want to put the Mask over anybody because he's really, really dangerous. But Luffy pretty much became the Mask in the most recent arc of One Piece, and I don't think that Prime All Might would actually be able to take him down. And the last character on this list, I know you saw it coming, we all know, come on, it's Saitama. Saitama is beating All Might. Do I really have to explain? I don't really think I do, but for anyone that's questioning, anyone in the My Hero Academia crowd that's like, but Prime All Might can maybe beat Saitama? Saitama like sneezed away a large portion of like Jupiter. They were fighting in space on one of Jupiter's moons. It was ridiculous. He grabbed the portal in his fight against Garo. Like, he was just doing crazy stuff, doing so many attacks that it looked like there was after images or clones of him, and I believe even like punching through time. Saitama is just nuts, and he's that other cartoonish depiction of power that I think we have in manga and anime that I don't think Prime All Might would be able to get anywhere near in power. Maybe the fight would start off very even, because we do see Saitama tends to kind of like fight on par with his opponents to a certain extent. Yeah, he tries to end things pretty quickly eventually if he gets annoyed, but he does allow himself to get ragdolled quite a bit by some of his opponents before he tries just utterly taking them out. And I do think All Might is one of those characters, especially Prime All Might, who could even survive some punches from Saitama, but quickly things are going to get to a point where I don't think All Might can keep up, and Saitama is going to try to end the fight, still unsatisfied and not being able to find a properly strong opponent. So those are 5 characters that I do think could defeat Prime All Might. Let me know what you guys think of the list. I know there are some characters that people are going to say those are absolutely wrong, but hopefully there's at least one character you can look at and agree definitely would be able to take the character down. Again, if you haven't checked out my 5 main characters that can't beat Deku video, you can check that out by clicking the card in the top right, and I appreciate you guys. We might get another upload today, but if not, expect something tomorrow, and I'll see you guys later. It's Pineapple. Love ya. Peace.